Hi everyone, it's Kerry back with you today. So Tracie Fox has invited me to participate in Creep on June again this year, which is a really fun collaboration that she puts out each year with a Halloweeny theme. So this year I have been given page 17. There will be links in the description box below to Tracie's kits. There will also be a link below to Tracie's website where you can see the calendar of all of the other creators that are participating. You can also use the hashtag, which is hashtag CreepOnJune2025, to find other people's projects, which will include collaborators and other people that have just decided to join in as well. So I have printed out a few pages here. I printed out day 17, which is a pocket and tag mix, and then I have printed out one page from the ephemera pages, and then I have also printed out a selection of the pages from the ledger. I've selected I think about 6 pages, and I picked purposely pages that had smaller images on the page. So I haven't printed everything. Now I've got a vague idea of what I want to do, but I haven't pre-made one or tested my theory in any way, shape or form, so this could turn out, or it might be a complete disaster. Now I've printed this on newsprint paper, which is quite a thin paper, which is why you can see the images through the paper, but it's also like a creamy colour. It's not a white paper, so this is just white. And with a newsprint you quite often get a bit of ink bleeding, but because I want this to look old and well worn, I'm not particularly worried about that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all my bits and pieces, and I'll be back when I've done that. Okay, so it's actually about 2.5 hours later. I had completely finished the project and realised that the sound on the video wasn't working, so rather than do a voiceover, I am going to remake a couple of bits from the first go round, and then a lot of it I'll be able to just explain to you and show you what I did anyway. So as I mentioned, I had cut these out of newsprint paper, and basically what I did was cut around the edges, and then I've added some ink and heavily distressed the edges of my pages. So you can see they're sort of inky and grungy, and I've got some folds and things in here. Now some of the pages I've torn in half down the middle of the page, and some of them I have torn in half across the middle of the page so that it's like a little double-sided one, and some of them I have just kept as a complete double-sided page. So I will keep those aside and we'll work on those a little bit more later. And I had cut out a bunch of images from the kit. I have these 2 left over that I'm going to use on my tag and my pocket. So I've cut out my pocket, and I've just inked around the inside so that if I don't line it up properly it doesn't show, and I've done the same with my tag. I've cut it out, scored and folded it down the middle, and popped some ink around the edges, and I'll cut these bits off after I've glued it. So to begin with, I'm going to work on this tag, and I want to put an opening in the front of the tag. And I've got here a 2.5 inch punch. Now when I pop the punch through this way, it's not going to be in the middle crossways, it'll be slightly more to the right. Now that doesn't bother me because I'm going to pop some lace or something down the side here for decoration, and I'm cutting on the side that's got the little pocket edge. So I'm just going to pop my punch in, and I want my opening to be slightly higher on the tag than lower, and I'm making sure I've got my tag pushed in as far as it will go, and I'm just going to punch out a circle, and then I want to select an image that I want to have showing through on the back of my pocket here. So I'm going to keep this graveyard image, and I'm pretty happy with the placement there, so I'm just going to get a little bit of art glitter glue I'm just going to put a very small amount underneath my paper, and then I'll come back and pop some glue on the top as well, just to hold it down. Now, because this is going to be a pocket with a tag sliding in and out, I want to just run a piece of sticky tape across the top of my image there so that my tag won't get caught when I move it in and out of the pocket. So I've just got some plain sticky tape here. And I'm just putting that all the way along so there's no bits that can catch on my tag. So on this side I want to create a piece of acetate for the front of the window, but I don't want to use nice fresh clean acetate. So what I've got here is some vintage sticky tape, and it's got this sort of browny colour. Now obviously when I just have one layer of tape it's not going to be that brown or yellow, and one piece of tape or one width of tape isn't going to be enough to cover the hole in the tag, so I'll need a couple of pieces. Now I know that's going to give me a seam in the tape, but I actually don't mind that. It might just help it look a bit older and a bit more grungy. So I'm just going to lay that tape down on the table there and take another piece. I just need to make sure that I'm using a big enough piece to cover the hole. So I'm just going to slightly overlap that and lay that down next to it. And then what I need to do is take two more pieces of tape to put sticky sides together so that I don't have the sticky part on my aperture. Now to make this look a bit more vintage, I'm going to lay my tape on the opposite direction, and I'm putting it sticky side down so that the sticky sides are together. And same with this one, and again I'm just going to make sure that they're overlapping a little bit in the middle there. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder to push that down. And then I want to trim the sticky parts away. So I'm just left with a clear piece of plastic that's not sticky anywhere. Okay, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to see there, but it kind of looks a little bit vintagey and grungy, and there's almost a cross pattern in the middle where the tapes have overlapped slightly. So when I pop this inside, I want to try to have that cross offset. I don't want it right in the middle, so I don't want it to look like a bullseye or anything like that. So I need to trim a little bit more off this side of my tape. So I'm just going to put a pen mark there. So now I'm going to pop just a little bit of glue in these corners to hold my tape down. And I'm spreading that glue away from the opening so it doesn't seep out. And again, I'm going to secure the edges of this down with some just normal sticky tape, so that when my tag goes in and out of the pocket it doesn't get stuck on the tape. Okay, so I have my faux acetate in my pocket now, and my graveyard picture is showing through there, so I'm ready to glue my pocket shut. And I'm going to make some trim or something to pop down the side of here a little bit later. So now I want to work on my tag, and I'm just going to glue it shut with some glue stick. Okay, so this is our little line from the poem for today, and I'm just going to pop this on the back of my tag, and I'm just going to glue around 3 sides, so it could be like a little pocket if we wanted it to be. And I'm just going to pop that on the back down the bottom. So I could add some little bits and pieces in there if I wanted to. And then on the front of my tag, I'm keeping it fairly plain, but I want to have it so that this image is visible through the window. So I'm just going to line that up where I want it to be. So that looks pretty good. And then centralise that just a little bit on there. Just adding a bit of glue to the bottom, and then I'll pop some more glue on the top. So we can see that little tunnel through the tag there. Now I'm just going to take this to my sewing machine and just sew around the edges just for a bit of interest. Okay, so I've just added a little bit of stitching around the edges, and I've also just stitched a little fabric tab on the top there. So that's our little tag with a pocket. So I had cut out a bunch of the ephemera pieces like these ones, and I have basically grunged them around the edges and then just attached some random pieces of lace and paper fabric scraps. Some have got stitching on and some I have stapled on, so pretty basic just additions on the side there, just a little bit of fabric and lace. And this one I've just got a little paper pull tag. Oops. Scrappy bit stuck there. And just some lace down the side, but I've just done that with all of the images that I had cut out earlier. So they all look a little bit different, and some are on one side, some are on the other side, and a little bit on the top. So now what I want to do is bring in the pages. So this is one that is, it was a full page like this, and I have just folded it in half and then basically torn it in half. And then this one is was a full page, and I've just torn it down the middle here, so it's blank on the back there. And all I want to do is start making like a paper stack with pages from that I've torn, So they're all roughly the same size. So with these ones that are full pages, I'm going to fold them in half, but then rather than have them directly in half, I'm sort of going to refold them slightly askew so you get more of a sort of a grungy look. Okay, so I've got all my pages folded. Now here, this was just a little piece of ephemera that I have stapled on there. And then over here I have another page that I just folded in half. And then I've also stapled on one of the images with a bit of lace and that on there. So I've got that one as well. These are some vintage music pages and just some vintage pages out of an old book. And here's another page that I have just stapled another piece of the ephemera onto. So now what I want to do is create actually before we do that, I'll just put together some fabric scraps to make a ruffle for the side there. So I think I'll use a piece of this. This is a piece of, it was actually like twisted paper like you find on paper bags, like the handles, and it's been sun bleached and I really like how grungy it looks. But I'm going to tear it down a little bit because I don't want it that wide, and I'm going to bring in a piece of this fabric and I'll probably ruffle that up a little bit. And then I've got some scrappy lace bits here. So I'm just sort of tearing this lace apart with my scissors a bit just to make it look a little bit more grungy. So I'm just going to take this to my sewing machine. This will be my base and I will add this piece of fabric, but as I'm stitching I will sort of gather it under the foot so that I end up with something a bit more like a ruffle. And then I will also just randomly add in these pieces of lace. Okay, so I've got a grungy looking ruffle here, and I think I just want to add that onto the side of my pocket there. So I'm just going to use a bit of art glitter glue. The base of my cluster or my ruffle is paper, so the art glitter glue should hold it pretty good. Okay, so I've got some rusty paper clips and clips here. I've got my randomly folded pages and my old book pages and all of my little ephemera pieces that I've attached some lace and fabric and bits. So I just want to start building my stack and I want it to look really rough around the edges. So I'm going to have the music paper as a base because it's bigger than everything else. And this paper is quite sturdy, so I think it will be good for a base. And with these images, so because this page has this one large image, when I fold it in half, you can't really tell what the bottom is. So I want to keep it like that with this being the front. And I think I'll add my extra image on the side here. So what will I add? I think I might add the raven. I'm just using a rusty paper clip. So that can go like that. So my next piece can go that way. I want something with the lace on this side. Oh, don't want that one. Maybe this one with the flowers. So now I've got a double page. that one there. So, oops, forgot to add some of these book pages in, so let's add a book page there and another book page there. Then we'll have 2 pages, maybe another music sheet. So this one, what will we add here? That one there. And this one, I think I'll add this to another page. Yes, I'm going to add this one here. Need a bigger paper clip. And another book page. Now this one I think I'll add this little jar. And another book page. I think we'll add this one on here. Now I quite like these pieces, so I just want to add, I might pop this heart in a jar in here. And this is the first tag I made, so I might as well stick that in here too. And then this was the second tag I made, so I'm going to pop that on the top. Now I really like these images, so I think I want to have that one on the top just sort of tucked in. And I might just have that one attached to this book page. Maybe like that. So it's just like a bundle of all sorts of bits and pieces there. So pretty happy with how that looks. So now I just want to get something to tie it all up with, and I think what I want to do is just have it sort of loosely tied. So that's my bundle of bits and pieces. Now he might have had these stashed in his drawer or somewhere like that. And then I've also created this that I did in when I was making the first one. And it's just some sticks from my garden, and I basically just tied them together at the ends and then just tied another little piece of fabric around it there. I won't bore you with doing it. It was pretty basic, and it's just a bit tedious with all the tying. And then I've just hung a little gem off here. There was one of the images in the kit had these hanging from some trees, and that inspired me to make this little charm. So that is my little bundle of bits and pieces with my pocket and tag for day 17. I will leave links in the description box below to Tracie's website where you can see the calendar, and of course I'll link all the kits in the description box below as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time. Bye.